Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. You know, it is just absolutely amazing the way that they write some of these characters at times because it's almost like they get the sense that you don't like some of these characters. So, what they start doing is they just either start leaning into the stuff that people don't like about it or like about them, or they pile on more stuff to make sure that you don't like them. Like, in case you kind of forgot or you're just kind of over some of these characters, you're just like, oh, wait, hold on. You just piled something new on there. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what I mean by that in a second. This conversation with Jason and Lulu. Okay. See, the thing is, Lulu has already been very insufferable lately. She's been coming across as a hypocrite. She's been doubling down on her old grudges that she's been having since like 5 years ago. But in this conversation, she just starts saying some things that is just like mind boggling. Like, it's like the words that come out of her mouth, you're just kind of sitting there like, do you even really believe what you're saying? Like, do you not understand just how out of left field or how out of pocket or how much of a hypocrite that you're coming across as? And she she pretty much comes at Jason and she's like, listen, I don't need you sitting there talking to talking to my son about this version of Brit. Because what she winds up saying is like, I don't need you to sit there and put this stuff into his head than the version that me and Dante has told. And I'm like, wait, so let me get this straight. You only want to sit there and make sure that Rocco knows about the bad stuff that Rocco did. I mean, the bad stuff that Britt did. But all the good stuff. Oh no, that's no. We can't sit there and confuse him now. We just gotta sit there and give him one version. And it's like, why? And then she keeps sitting there saying like, oh, I don't understand. How could you sit there and what did she say? She was like, well, the version that you keep sitting there talking about is a completely separate version than the one I dealt with. And I'm like, yes, Lulu, because you was in a coma for like 5-7 years, and before that, that happened. So of course, the version that you saw of Brit is going to be a different version than the one you woke up with. How do you? I'm really sitting there just like, it's like, are they going out their way to sit there and just make Lulu just come across as stupid? Fuck it, as stupid as possible. I was trying to find a better word, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I tried, but I couldn't do it. Um, and the thing that really blows me about her is that Lulu, you weren't an angel back then. You did some shady shit as well. I don't understand why you feel that you're the only person that's capable of growth and change. Brooklyn, oh, she's still the same selfish person. No. She told you she's got married and she's become best friends with Maxie and everything like that. But you still just don't want her. You just don't believe that she can change. She was a terrible person. She was this. She was that the version that I knew. So what are you saying, that she's not capable of change? But you are, right? You're capable of change. Carly, the one that you're sitting there riding to die with now, even though you totally forgave her for, trying to orchestrate a breakup between you and Dante. That version was terrible. Carly did some really bad, shady shit back in the day, but I'm pretty sure something's like, well, she's totally capable of changing. But just the people that you don't like. She does apologize for going off on Jason or snapping at Jason, but it's just one of those things where it's like, you come across as so hypocritical. It's just, sometimes watching her scenes, you almost feel like, for me, it's like getting a goddamn migraine. Now we're going to start off with Dalton. See, the thing is with Dalton is that people really didn't like him because they felt like he was creeping on Emma, even though Emma is technically a grown-ass adult. But there's an age gap, right? So people already felt like, I don't really like that about Dalton. But he decided, oh, you don't like that, which is already bad enough. I'm going to sit there and add one more. Let's add being a living, breathing Karen. Which, by the way, I cannot stand Karens. Okay, I think that there's just certain people that just belong in hell, and Karens are definitely one of those people, species, to be honest, that just belongs in the lower bowels of hell. See, when he got there, he wanted a fresh towel. Okay, fine, Danny was like, I get you on when um, I get you on as soon as possible because Rocco was responsible for it. Rocco was sitting there practically saying he was daydreaming because he was sitting there thinking about this whole Brit situation and everything like that. So they're talking back and forth, right? And after a while, Dawn's like, towels, hello, right? So then he starts kind of scolding them. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can obviously look at this. One, they're kids, right? Cut them some slack a little bit. But on the other hand, bro, you're an employee, you work there, you're supposed to be about the job right now, and you having people not having their towels and stuff like that, and you sitting there just talking to the lollygag, and why I literally told you what I wanted, and I'm still sitting there just waiting here like a jackass. So on some level, yes, fine, okay. But then Emma did this on purpose, right? After I got a towel and stuff like that, and he was in the pool or whatever. Comes back, he sees a dog just sitting on his towel and stuff. Now, just like I have a disdain for people that are Karens, I kind of have somewhat of a disdain for people who go in places that specifically are telling you not to go in there with your dogs, with your pets and stuff like that, and you do it anyway, right? Happens at my job, it pisses me off like there's no tomorrow, right? Because I did actually have somebody that brung in their dog. Why not just use in the bathroom, bro, on the floor? Then the owner was like, well, I don't understand what the big deal is. Then there was a point, a long time ago, when I was working at Barnes Nobles, this chick decided to bring in her pet tarantula. I am not joking. And was just hanging out with it in a goddamn cafe, right? So I generally do have a disdain for people that will just practically sit there and say, I know these are the rules, but I don't care. Or I know these are the rules, but this is my emotional support animal. Because it's just like a circumvenient way of just like practically saying I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want. I'm not a fan of that. Um, I don't think they belong in hell, but like just among the type of people that I'm not a huge fans of. But anyway, at this point, Dalton's like, all right, that's it. Gets Gia over and pretty much is like, all right, listen. First it was the towels. Now it's the dog. I want those two fired. And I'm like, ugh, you just added another black mark on your goddamn resume. People already didn't like you as because they felt like you were creeping on Emma, and now you just add Karen to the mix. But Emma comes over, she smooths things over, and not only does she smooth things over with saving her job, but she's like, listen, let me make it out to you, let me be your free helper and stuff like that. And Joe's like, yeah, I need some extra help, and clearly Jocelyn does too, since Jocelyn is not her job because she's too busy doing spy stuff. Talking about spy stuff. And long story short, just to kind of wrap that up real quick, um, Jack is worried that Anna has caught on to them, and that Anna did a background check on Vaughn. Don't really understand I mean, I know that she explained her reasons why, but it just seems so complicated that I'm like, you know what, cool. You just practically said it's spy stuff. I'm not going to stress my brain over it. But with that being said, he's like, well, the only way to sit there and full Anna now is for y'all two to be so convincing and love being a couple is that it fools me. I'm like, y'all are heavily fast tracking this relationship like there is no tomorrow. They want them in bed like 24 hours ago, pretty much. They're rushing the hell out of this relationship because, well, they just saw it. But whatever. Um, Again, I still like Vaughn better than I like Dex because Vaughn will hold Jocelyn's feet to the fire. Let's put it this way: if there was that same training montage or that same training montage or whatever, Dex would have held back a lot, which really wouldn't do Jocelyn any good. But Vaughn doesn't. Vaughn holds her feet to the fire. I respect that. But yeah, he wants them to be a super couple like yesterday. So there's that. Now, Michael tells Sonny and Carly, listen, Sasha's leaving the property. She's leaving Port Charles. There's somebody that's not there messing around with the baby and stuff like that and doing all sorts of like weird shit. She doesn't feel safe and now she's leaving. And at first, Carly and Sonny's like, no, don't, she can't leave or whatever, right? And, Carly's like, look, I can sit there and try to change your mind. You're a father, you have rights, this, that, and the third. I'm like, Carly, let me ask you a question. That same thing was happening to, I don't even remember one of her youngest kids. Let's just say that was happening to her child. Wouldn't you want to leave Port Charles? Would you not feel safe and you want to sit there and leave as soon as possible? Especially because Sonny Smith is saying, well, it's probably an enemy of Smith they're coming at me through you. She wouldn't want to leave hella quick, right? So why don't you sit there extending Sasha that same courtesy? Because she keeps saying, well, you shouldn't leave and this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, girl, this, Michael defends Sasha's decision. It's like, hey, listen, I want her to feel safe. It's not about bodyguards. I want her to live her life. Yes, it sucks. This hurts me deeply. What I have to do was right by Daisy and Sasha. And Carly's like, well, I don't like this. And I'm like, Carly, this isn't about what you like. This is about what Sasha needs. This isn't just about you. Like, it's that little self-centered mentality that I just don't like. You know? I don't like this. Who cares if you like this? This is about Sasha at this point. Um, and, Michael's like, listen, I need you to sit there and help me hold it together. Can you do that? A hard request, but Alexis came over to talk to Marco to offer her condolences, but also sit there and say, hey, just let you know, Sonny didn't do it. I'm like, I get what you're saying, but this may not exactly be the best time to sit there and try to be, cheerleading for Sonny and saying Sonny is innocent. Even if you do feel like that's the case, it may not be the time right now. Same thing with Lucy that was doing with Sitwell. Like, hey, listen, Sonny didn't sit there and do it. I know Sonny and stuff like that. And then there's another part where I felt like she was being kind of disingenuous when she was talking about the tie. She was like, well, she was such a smart and savvy businesswoman, and, she was really shrewd and this, that, and the third. I was like, wow, she sounds really great. Weren't you one of the people that was supporting her firing? Because she simply didn't disclose information about those two being together as exes? But she was really good at business though, right? So why'd you let her go? You see what I'm saying? Like, it one of those things where it's just like, stop. You shouldn't have said any of that at all. Um, anyway, Mark, Alexis leaves, and long story short, towards the end, it was Jason that wound up kidnapping Sonny. Kidnapping Marco. And Lucas has been snitching trying to get a hold of Marco all day and wound up getting to Carly, and Carly wound up opening the room and Marco wasn't there. I'm like, Sonny, you about to sit there and start a war that, my whole thing is like, at this point, I don't want to sit there and say, first shots or whatever fired, because if Sitwell was behind the fire bombing, then okay, whatever. But and then there was the other fire. I don't know how I feel about it because part of me is like, when I'm sitting there saying this shit out loud, I'm like, I can kind of see why he did sit there and kidnap Marco. But at the same time, I know he's gonna. I know that he's gonna blame himself. If Sitwell does something to Rocco, or Sitwell does something to Gio, or Michael, or Christina, or Molly, or any one of his family members, or Carly, then he's gonna be like, maybe I shouldn't have kidnapped that Marco guy. Also, seeing how Marco did sit there and save my daughter's life. No, no, I'm gonna kidnap him anyway. Because that's what he does. He goes right to the church and he tells Sid, well, by the way, your son isn't coming. Okay, bro. Um, Dalton just sit there and get a summons by Sidwell. Sidwell's like, a mutual friend wants to know what's taking so long with this research, and he's coming in a couple of days. And if you don't have an answer for why your shit is taking so long, it's not going to end well. So whatever you're doing, you need to speed up the timeline. And then Emma decides to sit there and tell Gio, Rocco, and Danny about what her mission is as far as Dalton, and she's gonna sit there and stop it. I'm like, did you really need to sit there and involve them? I mean, I get it. They were giving her kind of a hard time, like, you don't want to work with him. He's kind of a scumbag. He's Karen. He's bad news. But I don't understand why she felt the need to sit there and tell them that. I really don't. Um, There was a bit of friction between Lucas and Willow, and Isaiah had to sit there and kind of be mediator to kind of get them to chill out because of what Willow did. And Lucas like, listen, in the hospital, I should have been more cordial. I apologize or whatever. And he leaves. And then I swear there's a certain point where Willow is like channeling her inner now. Remember, they're supposed to be twins. And there's a point where she's like, well, Michael drove me to do this. Michael separated from my kids. This is all Michael's fault or whatever. I was acting on my heart. Michael forced me to do this. And I'm like, we know what she really means. But I'm like, girl, here's the thing. If you're gonna sit there and say Michael drove you to this, you started all this. You started with the cheating multiple times. Then you started with crossing state lines and a bunch of other stuff that you did that wound up making you lose custody of your kids. That was on you. That was not on Michael. So for you to sit there and try to blame Michael for everything at this point is just completely and utterly asinine. And your response is, oh, well, since, as she's literally sitting there picking Daisy, your mother betrayed me and Michael betrayed me, so now I need to sit there and teach him a lesson, but that's somehow his fault. Okay, that's the definition of delusional thinking, if I've ever seen. Um, wow, is that it? Oh, Anna is not there doing a background check on Vaughn, and after the chaotic morning that she had, she winds up talking to um, Felicia, and she's like, I investigated Vaughn because one, I think that he's too old for her, and Felicia's like, wasn't Robert too old for you? Yeah, exactly. you should probably work on being less of a hypocrite in the situation, but go on. But then she starts doing some spy stuff, because part of me was like, okay, well, that's not enough to sit there and investigate him because, well, they're not dating anymore. You saw he literally broke up with Emma to be with Jocelyn. So part of me is kind of like, this is not really making any sense. But then she starts connecting the dots and stuff like that, and when she found out that his background came up clean, she's sitting there thinking that he's a spy and this, that, and the third. It is a very convoluted way of how she like assumed that like he's up to no good, and this whole thing seems too familiar. So definitely pay attention to that scene. Um, uh, I feel like that's about it. I really do feel like that's about it. I don't know. There might be more to this whole thing because I was sitting there dealing with like 20 goddamn characters, but no, I feel like I got my point. Oh, also, Alexis asked Lulu to sit there and look into who wrote the article because, the article was damning to Sunny, and if it's damning to Sunny, it's going to affect Christina. And Lulu was like, fine, listen, you've done so much for me. You and Sam and everything like that, I got you. So she agrees to do it. Now, I feel like that's about it. I can't think of anything else that wound up happening. If I miss anything, write it in the comment section below. Come to the live stream tonight. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I will be sitting there talking about all the shows: General Hospital, Dead to Alive, Bold and the Beautiful, Young and the Restless, and of course, Beyond the Gates. I'll see you in the next video.